Hey guys. It occurred to me when I was doing the Zero Phantos review that I still had an original release Twinhorn sitting unbuilt in its box, and that's no way to keep a Zoid, so I decided to change that. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well do my usual review routine, right? So this is me unboxing it, I'll show you how it's built, and then we'll check it out in action and see how it compares to some other elephant Zoids. Let's take a look.
Robo Shop.
So let's go totally off script and start with the box here. So first of all, just size-wise, as you can see, the Twinhorn came with a fairly thick box due to, I think it's just the size of some of the parts. It's not a very big Zoid, actually. Let's take a look at this. We've got, I don't know what this says. We've got, of course, the good old-fashioned, oldie-timey 80s Zoids logo here that I'll never not miss. On the front we have the Twinhorn on the usual desert diorama that they photographed them all on at the time. Pink stuff here is new. I don't know what that's about. The old Tomy logo here, it says, oh, that's why it says 28, okay. EMZ 28, the same picture on every side here. Not a whole lot of different artwork, but we do have this really cool illustration here of a bunch of Twinhorns firing at nothing in particular. They're being attacked by these cannon tortoises here. And then there's two suggestions for how you can paint it. Also an alternate weapon here. They're suggesting that you put an antenna on them for some reason. Yeah, and that's everything that's on here. So let's take a look at what's inside. Okay, so as was always the case, everything is in one bag. Put this box away. Now let's take a look at the instructions first. You can tell these have been in the box for a long time. They're kind of yellowed. First of all, we have these foil stickers here that a lot of the smaller windups came with. Zaniba symbol, this knight here, a bunch of the usual, and then the OJR instructions, which say instructions here, and this, oh look, everything's English. I honestly can't remember if that was normal, but you've got a English translation of everything here. The parts list for sprues, caps, it says hood, I mean that's the canopy, pilot, power unit, stickers, and then how it goes together. The new parts are always pink. Very simple assembly, of course. There's a help phone number here in case somebody wants to call Japan and see if anyone still answers. Yeah, let's take a look at the parts. So we've got, first of all, this fairly bright red sprue. It says here, by the way, it says here Singapore, so that's where this was manufactured. Maybe, you know, if you know more about where the different different places where the Zoids were manufactured at the time, feel free to share that in the comments. I'm actually not particularly knowledgeable about that. Anyway, this is a fairly bright red, like I said. The black parts are actually not entirely black. This is more sort of a very dark maroon color. Legs, tusks. This is sort of the inner frame that holds the motor. Got a weapon here, two guns, kind of hollow on the inside, I mean on the back of course, but otherwise look very nice. And then we have this sprue with the torso halves and these pieces here that are going to drive the movement. The caps, which are sort of a dark bluish green. And almost tossed it. We have, what's this? That is a piece that's broken off somewhere. Strange. I'm gonna have to take a look through the instructions and check that out. Anyway, I'm gonna keep this in the bag until I'm done building it. The canopy, as you can see, is green, chrome silver pilots, and that's it. That's it. What's going to happen is that I'm going to cut these parts off the spruce, trim down the nut marks, and then I will show you how it goes together. Just one brief intermission before I start though. I just found out where this is from. You can see here, this is the tip of the tail that attaches to the main torso. And apparently this piece broke off here. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna have to glue that. It's not that big of a deal. Anyway, for real now, let's get building. All right, let's get started here. First of all, we got the motor, which has this attachment here that I actually forgot to mention in the unboxing. And step number one is to put these internal frame pieces here together. So we take this one, and of course I grabbed the wrong one because it wouldn't be a Space Hamster build video if I didn't grab the wrong piece immediately. Okay, here we go. Now we turn this around. We put this on. If you're only familiar with Zoids Wild, then you're probably still going to find that this looks very familiar because the way that the wind-up models go together is really hasn't changed much. So we secure these torso halves with two caps. By the way, you see here the broken tail piece I mentioned. The peg is actually such a tight fit I didn't even have to glue it, so it's definitely not a big deal. Now on this side we have two mechanical pieces, which means that I need to be careful. This goes, if I can get this not to get in the way, this goes on here. Ugh. Ah, man, come on. Here we go. It's supposed to rest on top of this. I mean, obviously this is what drives the legs, right? And then we have this, which will no doubt make the trunk move. Goes here. And now you can see, you know, this is going to rotate and it's going to make this go up and down. And that's how the trunk's going to move. Next, that was embarrassing. Next we've got this, and we close up the torso. All right, now legs. See, there's a space here for that small peg at the top, and the big red one goes through here, like so. It's all pretty loose, but it's gonna work just fine because it's an old school Tomy Zoid. They all work really well. Okay, here we go. Notice all the really cool detail on the side here as well. This leg goes on like this, and this one goes on like the other one. Big surprise. Okay, that's the torso and the legs all put together. Now excuse me while I flip over the instructions and knock the camera and just generally make a fool of myself. Okay, next we put on the head, which means we take one of these head halves. The trunk goes on a peg, which I now cannot find because this is the wrong piece. This one goes on the Zoid's left, and you thread the trunk onto the small peg here, like this. And then it attaches here. Oh, and this tab rests on this that we attached to the motor before. So yeah, I'm just remembering it's actually the whole head that moves and not just the trunk. The trunk is actually sort of, no, yeah, it's posable. Posable, but doesn't move. Okay, now this is very loosey-goosey, you can see here. And that's because we next attach this on top. First though, the canopy, like so. And then this snaps on here. And now the head's tight, right? And we can open this and put the pilot in. And the instructions are telling me to do so, but never before the build's finished, folks. Never before the build's finished. All right, now, tusks. These are quite loose. Okay, they're supposed to go in like this. That's why they're loose, because if you attach them correctly, they're not. Okay, see, they actually fit right into this space here where you can attach them with a cap. And now let me just make sure I don't get the ears backwards. Yep. This one goes on the left and this one goes on the right. Left, right? No, I didn't get that backwards. And finally, we have this piece, which slots on the back and helps these armor parts stay together. And finally, we attach the guns. These are identical, right? Yep. We put the guns on here. And now we put the pilot in. Okay. And here we go. That's how you built this thing. I'm going to put the stickers on right now. I'm going to do that off camera as usual. And then we're going to check them out in action and compare them to some other mammoth types.
So let's do those comparisons first. Here you have the Zoids graphics reissue on the left and the original release on the right. And yeah, the red collar on the original is actually noticeably darker, but obviously it's not really showing up in this picture, so I guess you'll just have to take my word for it. Here's a comparison to the elephant Zoid most of you are probably familiar with. Obviously the Twinhorn is very small, so it looks kind of like a baby elephant next to the Elephander. And it looks even smaller next to the mammoth, of course. And yes, I had to do it. Here's the only comparison that really matters. The Twinhorn's really barely bigger than the Protozoid. The only reason the box is twice the size is because of the size of some of the armor pieces, basically. Now, let's check it out in action. Yeah, I don't feel like there's much I need to point out here. It walks and the head moves up and down. The movement looks relatively fluid for a wind-up Zoid, but I think that's because it's all a bit heavy for the small-sized wind-up motor, and that's slowing it down. And that's also why it doesn't get very far. Well, and there you have it. It's funny, the Twinhorn was an extremely sought-after Zoid for a brief period in the early 2000s where people paid insane amounts of money for it because it was so rare, which may or may not be the reason why the Zoid's graphics reissue happened. The selection of models in that line never made much sense to me. It was really kind of strange. I got this one years later at a relatively reasonable price, or at least that's what I'm choosing to remember, and I'm glad I did. I can't quite put my finger on what it is about this Zoid, but it looks kind of unusual, and for some reason I always think it's amusing that they made a mammoth that's this tiny. It's definitely a nice design though, with that Robocop visor, all the detail on the armor, and the proportions are great, so if you can snag one of these without selling a kidney first, I think you should. And that's it for this one, folks. Before I go, though, I would like to point out that I've looked at my metrics recently and I realized that something like 85% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribers. Now, you should know by now that I review every new Zoids WoW model as soon as I can get my hands on it. I post reviews of classics from the 80s like this one, and I also have proper painted modeling stuff, including Gunpla and Machine & Krieger, so obviously you like this stuff because you watched this video until the end, so really, you might as well subscribe, right? In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.